A Scandal in Bohemia is one of the most famous Sherlock Holmes stories by Sir Arthur Conan Doyle, first published in 1891. The story opens with Dr. John Watson, Holmes' loyal companion, recounting the events that transpire. Holmes receives a mysterious visitor who introduces himself as the King of Bohemia. The king is in a predicament and urgently seeks Holmes' help. He reveals that he is about to marry a princess, but a compromising photograph of him with a woman named Irene Adler threatens to ruin the marriage. The king tells Holmes that Irene Adler has the photograph, and if it is made public, it would cause a scandal and endanger the royal engagement. The king is unable to convince Irene to return it, so he turns to Holmes for assistance. Holmes accepts the case and begins his investigation. Holmes immediately begins to gather information on Irene Adler. Using his customary methods of deduction and his network of informants, he learns that she is an intelligent and resourceful woman, not easily manipulated. Despite his confidence in his skills, Holmes realizes that this is a delicate matter because of Irene's cunning nature. Holmes devises a detailed plan to retrieve the photograph from her possession. He and Watson plan a series of actions that will allow Holmes to gain entry into Irene's home and find the photograph. Holmes goes so far as to disguise himself as a clergyman and stages a scene in front of Irene's house to gain her sympathy. Holmes and Watson execute the plan by staging a fake altercation outside Irene's house, which causes a commotion and prompts Irene to open her door. Holmes pretends to be a clergyman who has come to offer assistance, and Watson plays along as his companion. As part of the ruse, Holmes gives a dramatic performance, faking an injury, which distracts Irene and allows Holmes and Watson to observe her and her house. They make their way through her home, all the while looking for the hidden photograph. However, Irene Adler is far more intelligent than Holmes anticipated. She quickly realizes that the clergyman is not who he claims to be, and she deduces that Holmes has been following her. Her keen instincts and sharp intellect allow her to see through the ruse, and she turns the tables on Holmes. She immediately takes control of the situation, making Holmes believe that he is still in control, but secretly planning her escape. Irene cleverly evades Holmes by hiding the photograph, and the next day, she disappears with it, leaving behind a letter for the King of Bohemia. In her note, Irene declares that she has no intention of using the photograph against him, but she will keep it for her own protection. She also says that she will leave the country and live quietly, making it clear that she will not blackmail the king as he feared. Holmes, despite his meticulous planning and confidence in his abilities, is completely outwitted by Irene. She proves herself to be more than a match for the great detective, demonstrating not only her intelligence, but also her ability to anticipate his every move. In the end, Holmes admires her for her cleverness and respects her decision. The King of Bohemia, although disappointed, agrees to Irene's terms. He is allowed to marry the princess, and the photograph remains safely in Irene's possession. Holmes, for the first time, is forced to acknowledge that he has met someone who has bested him. He even keeps a photograph of Irene Adler in his study, a symbol of his admiration for her. The story ends with Holmes reflecting on his defeat. Irene Adler becomes the only person in Holmes' career to ever outwit him. This story is notable not only for the mystery but also for its portrayal of Irene Adler as a brilliant and independent woman who is able to foil the great detective's efforts. Unlike many women in Victorian literature, Irene Adler is presented as a character with agency, intelligence, and the ability to hold her own against a man known for his intellectual superiority. Through her actions, she challenges traditional gender roles, making her a standout character in the Sherlock Holmes series. Holmes' respect for Irene is evident, and his admiration for her is a rare moment in his otherwise unshakable confidence. A Scandal in Bohemia is one of the most beloved stories in the Sherlock Holmes canon because it highlights the limitations of Holmes' intellectual methods when confronted with a woman of equal or greater cunning. It also explores themes of intelligence, respect, honor, and the complexity of human nature. Irene Adler's cleverness and her ability to evade Holmes show that even the greatest detective in the world can be humbled by a woman who is not only his equal, but also his superior in certain ways.